Okay, so this is Omid. Let's start with him first. This week's episode of Archetype focuses on the word bamboo. Meghan is joined by an extremely candid at Paris Hilton for a conversation about the label and to explore why brains and beauty in a woman are often pitted against each other. Paris Hilton was not on my list of Archetype at all. She was not on my list. I was pretty much surprised. Okay, but couple things that popped in my mind when I was listening to the podcast. Two things. One, it's the group that were mentioned in the podcast, Paris Hilton. I think Britney Spears was part of that group, Lindsay Lohan, and something else. I don't remember. There was someone else in that group that was mentioned. I remember during those time when they're going out partying and whatever. I remember TMZ was following them, and I think that was around that time TMZ was starting to come about, and there was this guy. I don't know his name, never seen him ever since, but they claim that he was a son of a oil tycoon kind of thing, and he was mocking them, okay? Especially, I think, Lindsay Lohan and Britney Spears and stuff like that, saying really nasty things that's not even worth repeating. And then after that, things happened to these ladies. That's from the outside. I'm not saying this is exactly what happened to them, but from a person from the outside, this is what I remember thinking and processing. After that guy said something to them, their life, this lady's life, just went down spiral. Lindsay Lohan had issues, Britney Spears had issues, and then Paris Hilton, based on her the podcast, it seems like it happened before, but to me it feels like it was during that time, after that guy said whatever he said. All right, so that crossed my mind again, and I think I had touched it very lightly once before in one of my podcasts, way before. Okay, so I don't know. I'm just telling you what came to me as I was listening to the podcast. The other thing that came to mind is Sidney Poitier. What does Sidney Poitier have to do with Meghan's podcast? It's the fact that the way that Paris Hilton was saying, and she was very obviously, anybody who's making money on the media and stuff like that are very smart. So one of the things that crossed my mind was Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier, I believe, was born in the US but raised in the Bahamas. That's what I believe. And I'll look it up. Just look at the screen as I'm saying some of the things on top of my head right now. And he was already a self-made man. What I mean by self-made man is that he was not... I don't want to say a word, something that is wrong or defame anybody, but so I guess he was already know who he is as a man. Okay, so when he picks certain roles, he think of how he's gonna portray it in society, or in other words, he sort of understand the media, how the media could frame people, typecast people. Let's say playing things like gangster or things like that. So they will assume every black man is a gangster or something like that. I'm just giving an example. So Sidney Poitier was a man, he passed, okay, who, even though he didn't have a lot of money, I believe there was a movie that he made where I think he was a dishwasher person, right? And then he was offered to make certain movies, and he will be making, I don't remember the amount of money that he will be pay for that particular role. He turned it down, when most people would have assumed that they will go for it and then leave the dishwashing kind of thing away. But Sidney Poitier was thinking way beyond his time. Okay, how he was gonna be portrayed. The thing that he wants black men like him to see themselves in a different way, but not as the character he's portraying on TV or on the show or on the job that he was they offer him, which he turned down. I'll look for things to back that up, but I'm talking on top of my head. Just keep your eyes on the screen. I probably, if you don't, well, you won't even know. If I don't find the information, I won't even include that. But right now I'm talking on top of my head. But from base things that either I watched, listened, or read. All right. So, okay. I hope I make sense with that. So, in comparison to how does Sidney Poitier come in with Paris Hilton? Paris Hilton knew she was just playing a role. Okay, she was just playing a role and have fun while doing it and stuff like that. But one thing I realized, a lot of people who do acting sometimes lost. They get lost in their role. They become that character. In my humble opinion, I feel like that's what had happened to her. She got lost in the role, and when she knew she was much more than that, and it was hard for her to get out of it. I hope I make sense. I don't know. So sometimes when you see certain people turn certain roles down, like Sidney Poitier, where he could have used the money at that time very well, dishwashing and movie role, he didn't do it because I guess he didn't wanna. I'm not speaking for Sidney Poitier. He already stamped his name on the history book. He already made himself known of who his character. Like Harry said, it's your character.
It's your character that matters most.
He already proved himself, the character of a man that he is. All right. So I guess him turning certain roles down, he didn't want to be cast type and didn't want to turn into these type of characters. All right. So that's a couple things that I learned from as I was listening to the podcast that crossed my mind. Oh my God, I'm already 10 minutes. I didn't even get started yet. Also, as I'm editing this video and I was talking about TMZ, something came to mind. Because when I started putting the screenshot of TMZ, when TMZ started, and around the time when Lindsay Lohan, Britney Spears, and Paris Hilton were hanging out in the nightclub and all of that. So knowing that TMZ is on, I believe it was Fox. Let me look at it. Yeah. So TMZ is on by Fox Corporation. And then that show, I think Simple Life, that Paris Hilton was being aired on was on Fox, from what I remember. So all of this, it was framed. She literally was playing the role even as she go out. So she never really differentiate herself. When you acting, well, I don't know. I don't even know myself being in that business. But I will assume is that there was never a stop. Okay? Like when you go to work, to most common people like myself and you who goes to work. Okay? So when you're at your job or your establishment, you put your working mode on. Okay? You're there to earn the money and you need to do what needs to be done, and then you do it. Once you know you're at work, you're at work. Then once that clock time or 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. is up, you're not at your boss's time anymore. You took that hat off. You become yourself. You're worrying about your kid. Did your kid eat dinner or whatever? So there is a differentiation. But what I see here, from what I've observed as a consumer, Paris Hilton never took that hat off. So when she's going out, hanging out with her friend, she was still acting that same portrayal as the Simple Life. That's what I get from it. I'm just explaining from my understanding. I was there. I was a witness as a consumer. Okay, so I used to follow this stuff. I didn't agree with it, but these things were being shown. So TMZ was part of the whole show. Now I'm gonna put a clip from the Johnny Depp thing to express my point of view, because if TMZ is owned by Fox, and they were starting to establish themselves, because I think it was around November 2005 and 2007, they were getting themselves, in the mainstream for people to know them. So they were using, TMZ was using the kids. Like I've always said, they use young kids to get their foot on the ground. And they use Paris Hilton, the Britney Spears, all those young hip names at that time. So TMZ is part of the problem. Okay, so here's the clip from the Johnny Depp thing to show you what I'm talking about. So TMZ, probably, in my humble opinion, as a consumer from the outside, not ever speak to any of the TMZ people or Paris Hilton herself, they knew she was gonna be there, and they probably made her go there so they could catch the young people's attention. All right, so here's the clip, and then I'll get back to the podcast. So I have to tell you what was going in my mind at that time when I was listening to the podcast. All right, so here's the clip, and then we'll go straight to the podcast after that, whatever I've recorded earlier. Is that the TMZ guy?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case in the penalty of law?
Good afternoon, Mr. Tremaine.
Hello?
Would you please state your full name for the record?
Morgan Cliff Tremaine.
And what do you do for a living?
I produce esports events and design video games.
And in 2016, what did you do for a living?
I worked as the field assignment manager at TMZ.
Ooh.
I worked as the field assignment manager at TMZ.
Ooh, the TMZ
What
guy.
is TMZ?
TMZ is an entertainment news website and television show. TMZ is an entertainment news website and television show.
And what were your responsibilities as a field assignment manager for TMZ?
I was the go-between the news desk in the office and the reporters in the field, which you might know as paparazzi. The news desk in the office and the reporters in the field, which you might know as paparazzi.
Approximately how many paparazzis were you in charge of?
At the time, it was about 20 in LA, a handful, maybe 3 in New York, and then 1 in DC.
And what were your responsibilities specifically as to the paparazzi?
It would be to dispatch paparazzi to various locations based on tips or just direction dictated by having a list of sort of hotspots where celebrities would be. It would be to dispatch paparazzi to various locations based on tips or just direction dictated by having a list of sort of hotspots where celebrities would be.
And how were those tips received?
They were received either through tips that we received through our tip line or directly through news producers in the office. They were received either through tips that we received through our tip line or directly through news producers in the office.
And were tips frequently received directly from sources?
Very often the case, yeah.
And who were the type of sources that TMZ received tips from?
They would receive tips from, oftentimes it would be publicists, managers, agents, or B-list celebrities. Oftentimes it would be publicists, managers, agents, or B-list celebrities.
Lawyers?
And lawyers, definitely.
How are tips verified?
Tips are verified by an extensive process. If they come in through our tip line, we have to verify who sent it, that the source is truthful, and so they have to add their contact information, which is a field in that on that website for like name, phone number, things like that.
And how long did that process typically take?
If we receive a tip through the tip line, it could take a while because that would need to be, if it was a tip, we would need to verify it. If it was media, such as photos or videos, that would need to be extensively verified to ensure that the person sending it is the copyright holder and that we would have the legal ability to air it and distribute it.
And while working for TMZ, were you involved in any assignments related to Ms. Heard?
I was.
What was the first time you recall working on an assignment related to Ms. Heard?
I believe it was May 27th, 2016.
And what was your role in that assignment?
For that, Ms. Heard was filing a restraining order at a courthouse in downtown Los Angeles. So I dispatched camera people to that location.
And what was your role in that assignment?
For that, Ms. Heard was filing a restraining order at a courthouse in downtown Los Angeles. So I dispatched camera people to that location or directly through news producers in the office.
All right, so that's that. I read that already. Let's read some of the comment. This episode is so fascinating. Paris' voice is so smooth and lovely. Wow, never knew Paris was more than this dumb blonde archetype. Well, I think I have a little, how will I say that? A little, the same way that I say about the Kardashian. A lot of people tend to badmouth them. I've spoke about the Kardashians before, and I'm like, they're doing pretty well to be in that, part of the conversation and pop culture and all that. We may not approve some of the things that they do, but I think they're doing pretty well. People are watching their stuff, so they're giving content. That's all it is. So I think I sort of had a basic understanding of Paris Hilton, this kind of thing. But I must say though, with the TV show that she did with The Simple Life with oh my God, what's her name, Nicole Richie, they got me on that part because I think I think at one point in one of my podcasts I spoke about who came with reality TV, and I think I went way back. I don't remember all of the stuff that I said, but I think I spoke about reality TV, who started first. But when reality TV was starting to take shape, I think The Simple Life, the thing she played with Nicole Richie, I think they got me on that because this might interfere with some of the things that I've just said. But when I first saw the reality TV, I thought they were really doing things reality, the real kind of thing. But later on, as I started watching and stuff, I was like, there's no way they could be like that. There's no way this could be this or something. I started questioning myself, and that's when I started to differentiate. But when it first started, they got me thinking that this is who they were, who they really are. But like I said, but later on, as the show continued, and I realized, nah, that can't be them. Right? The same way, I questioned the UK tabloid, and then here I am making podcasts almost every day for you guys, because I question the British media regarding Meghan. Everything that they wrote about her was negative. So the same thing with the show, I started questioning it. I was like, there's no way they could be like that. And then I started to differentiate them and stuff like that. All right, I hope I make sense with that. But they did get me. And with reality mean this is your everyday way, your way of doing things. But it was catered to a way that they wanted to portray, I guess, women, and then she sort of fell into it. And I have to give Nicole Richie some prop, because after that show, she probably have done several things in the background. I'm not aware. Like I said, I don't follow a lot of people, but her life is pretty, shape up and things like that. We need to differentiate when she was young and as an adult, because she's a mother. I think she married one of the brothers. I think it's one of the twin. What's the musician? I forgot. I spoke to about them as well in one of my podcasts. It's funny that I'm mentioning them again. This actress married the other brother. I can't think of the name. Just look at the screen. I probably will put the pictures on the screen. All right, but I haven't heard much about Nicole Richie. I'm pretty sure she's probably doing some business thing in the background. All right, but her life have really, I guess, with the guide of her father, You know what? Let me leave that alone because I don't know. But let's continue. All right, lovely, insightful conversation from Meghan and Paris Hilton. Okay, I was actually surprised at how much I enjoyed the episode. I didn't think I could relate to the guest, but the more I listened to her, the more I got her. Like, wait a minute, why did I used to think that? Alright, this was a great episode. I had no idea Paris Hilton was like this. I totally fell for the dumb blonde persona. It will make people do that. Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. Okay, the bimbo is not just a fit for the dumb white woman scenario. It can fit any woman of color scenario. Everyday smart women are told to dumb themselves down to fit with men they work with to make them feel not threatened and comfortable. We are told to be less than ourselves. That's one thing I have to say. When I worked in an office and things like that, you thinking that you at a firm, okay? The main goal is the firm, to make the firm look good. Nothing in my wild dream will make me think the people within that firm are competing with each other. This really shocked me. Okay? This really shocked me. I never knew people were like that. Yeah, this is very sad. Oh, that's interesting. Not a guess I would have expected. Yeah, it surprised me as well. Paris Hilton was not in one of the surprise guests, but I'm definitely here for it. Okay, listening to what happened to Paris at the boarding school is heartbreaking. And one thing that she said as she was saying it, and I was thinking about it, then she said it, is that maybe because of her platform, maybe it was meant for her to be there to expose what was happening in those boarding school. As she was explaining her experience, I was like, well, not that I was happy for her, it's traumatizing for her. Why will I be happy for her? But as she was saying it, I remember thinking, well, maybe it was meant for you to be at one of those boarding schools to share your experience to the world. And then later on, she said it. And I was like, this is how freaking smart she is. She is. She did say it in some shape or form like that. Maybe it was meant for me to be there, that way I could experience it. I mean, I could tell the world about it in some shape or form. Okay, let's see here. It was heartbreaking hearing Paris' experience at boarding school. Fortunately, she survived it and is now using that bad period in her life to help others in her advocacy work. Meghan is a brilliant interviewer. Oh my goodness, I've said it way before, especially during the 19, when I was like, this is one person. If I'm being interviewed, I don't want a person like Meghan to interview me, because she makes you feel comfortable. And she did say it in that podcast. She was like, it's a safe place. In other words, you don't have to talk about things you don't want to talk about. Just be yourself, this kind of thing. And I did say it. And I said, if you've done something horrible and you have someone like Meghan interview you, guess what? You're going to spill more beans than you wanted to spill. I've said it way before, maybe 2 years ago. There it is. Yeah, she is. And then in response, Meghan was like, I'm not a got you moment. What was the term she used? I'm more of, I forgot the term. I hope I come across it in one of those comments. All right. Just finished listening. Another great one. Can take so much away from this one again, especially being a mom to a very smart girl who sometimes dumb herself down so no one call her Miss Know-It-All or you such a nerd, but she is slowly coming into herself. Okay, what was it yesterday? My son took a math test, and he is one of those kids, my youngest, where once he is interesting about something, oh my God, this kid will literally teach you those things that he is interesting about. Okay, so math is one of the things he hates. Okay, so since last week we knew he was gonna have a math test yesterday, so throughout the week, last week, I'm giving him little things at the time to do. Once I pinpoint his problem, so I give him more of those type of things he was having issues with, and then he gets it. So yesterday when he came home and I asked him, how was the test? He was like, oh, it was good. And I asked him, did they ask this exponent? Did they ask this decimal point? Did they ask that, da, da, da? He was like, no. And I was like, how did you feel the test? Oh, it was easy. And I was like, you see, this is the thing. That's what I want when you take a test, to see it's easy. When I work with you at home, I give you the most difficult ones, the ones that you are having problem with. That way, I prefer you make mistake at home, but not at the test when it counts the most. So I guess I'll wait to see what happened, because for me, the day before the test, I didn't give him that much. But throughout the week, last week, I was giving him a lot of things. And once I started realizing where he was having problem, like for instance, if he's multiplying with decimal point, all I had to tell him, look, don't worry about the decimal. Do all the multiplication the way you always do. And then at the end, you worry about the decimal point. And then that little thing got him. And then I give him 3-digit, 2-digit, 5-digit, and so forth, so on, where sometimes I put whatever, $3.1, okay? And then the other thing he has to multiply is maybe, I don't know, $75.25, right? So just because of the 0.1, that doesn't mean there's no number behind it. All you have to do is put a 0. And I tell him to think of it as money, $3.10. Okay, 10 cents, there's 0.10. So I think eventually he got it, and then the thing become easy for him. So this is the thing. What was my point of that? Let's see. Okay, Miss Know-It-All. Yeah, him. What I had to do, because he's really good at a lot of things, but when he's not into something, you really have to really push him to make him understand it. Once he understands it, forget it. He'll teach you it. All right. Meghan the Stallion is a nerd. She grew up as an only child, loved anime drawing and doing what she was told. She said that her grandma told her, quote, Meghan, you're going to go to college, and quote, MTS, a rapper. But she says, quote, okay, I guess I'm going to college, and quote, she graduated December 2021. Oh, she recently. I don't know about that. Growing up, I was very good with numbers, did very well in mathematical subject. This upset a lot of people. My own teachers would root for the boys. There's a slap in the face. And by the time I got to uni, the attitude from male classmates became so toxic. I wasn't supposed to be good with numbers. There's the rolling eye. I'm sorry you lived through that. The creature with the Y chromosome is weak in many ways, excluding upper body strength. I felt bad for our many female co-ed students in the sciences. I recognized early that their male classmates lacked social skills and were social awkward. All right, let's read some more and then move on to the next. Okay, the fact that a certain set in society can reconcile the woman can have both beauty and brain is categorically narrow and misogynistic. And then when you think about, when you look at the world just in general, who's running by men, who create wars, who create all sort of crazy things, why, when they could just talk it. But anyway, one of the examples regarding female run countries, I spoke about I think New Zealand with the female prime minister, and some other places that have women as their top. There was another one I was talking recently where they were making fun of her because she was at a party dancing with her friend, and then one of her friends put the picture, the thing, and then they were bashing her for it. But the thing is that there's always, I guess, the motherly kind of thing kick in when it comes to this kind of thing. They know how to not settle, but put peace into things. But men, all they want to know, use your kids to destroy each other. I don't know. But and we have to blame some women in that aspect as well for knowing the fact that these people are not really helping them, but yet they're voting for them still. We all take blame on that. All right. And at the same time, some women are not running for those office. Hey, I guess I have to blame myself too. I'm not running for those things because it's not made for people like me. All right, let's read whatever's on the screen and that's it. Okay, this is French. Looking forward to listening later. Every episode has been brilliant. That's why I love today's Archetype with Meghan. Conversation between Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, and Paris Hilton. They're so hot. We need more conversation like this. Great to see Meghan podcast is very well balanced and the topics discussed. Yeah, and I was gonna say, nah, let me not go there. Okay, just love Meghan's guests. Also different. You could listen to her for hours. That's why. And I was very surprised. I have to go listen to it. I feel like I missed maybe a 50 because I was doing things around the house as I was listening to her. I felt like it was too short. I don't know why. I didn't feel like it was like an hour or 45 minutes or something. This was another awesome episode. All right, let's go to the next tweet.